Is this on? Are you talking to me?
No, you're still there.
Oh, she's on me.
I don't see you got 1, 2, 3 right. I don't think it's only one back. So check.
Okay.
Want to hear her again?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Munson-Devins, and I am a member of the class of 1973 and the executive director of the Alumni Association. And I have the great honor of saying welcome to all of you to the 24th Annual Alumni Banquet and Awards Night honoring the class of 1954. Before we sit down to enjoy a very delicious meal that Gumas has prepared for us, I would like to ask Mr. Clarence Baker, a member of the class of 1954, to come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And please stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now ask another member of the class of 1954, Sister Bernadette Ducharme, to present the invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, the class of 1954 and other alumni gather to give thanks and gratitude for the many years of life. We are thankful for all the gifts you have given us, which have helped us through the various twists and turns of life. We are grateful for the education we have received that has enabled us to live life fully with meaning and richness. We are mindful of the lessons we have learned, lessons we now share with our family and friends that enable them to benefit from our growth and leadership. We hold in sacred memory those of each class and their families who have left us and now share in the fullness of eternal life. We are thankful for their contributions to our lives and our communities. Now, Lord God, we ask your blessing upon us and upon this school. As we share this meal together, may we be reminded that in the breaking of bread, we continue to be classmates, companions, and friends in this great gift of life. As we share this meal and ask your blessing upon this food, may we remember that we continue to feed one another in mind, body, and spirit. We make this prayer and blessing in the name of a living and loving God who dwells in our midst, now and forever. Amen.
Dinner will now be served, and since we are honoring the class of 1954, we will begin with their tables, then the table where the officers are, then we will continue on this side, and then we'll start over here on the first table and work our way back. Thank you. program now. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the officers of the Alumni Association who, along with our members, keep the Chazy Central Rural School Alumni Association alive. Our president, Ronald Bucket Chombley, class of 1956, was unable to be here with us tonight. Vice President, Jane Fulton Hess, class of 1953. Jane, please stand up. Secretary, Tina Earl Chombley, class of 1974. And Treasurer, Margaret Maggie Ryan, class of 1979. Before I introduce our Master of Ceremony, I'd like to tell a little story that I learned about him just the other night as we were preparing for the banquet. It seems that about a year or so ago, our Master of Ceremony was approached by the President of the Alumni Association, Bucket Chombley, to do a little chimney work for him. Now, Bucket noticed after the Master of Ceremonies completed this job that there was something up on the roof near the chimney that looked like a piece of wood or something, and he just couldn't figure out what it was. So Bucket tells me that for a year or so, every time he walked by the chimney, he would look up at this wooden object on the roof by the chimney and wonder, what is up there? So finally, after this year, he gets a bright idea. And he decides, I'll get a ladder, climb up the ladder to the roof, and see what this wooden object is sitting there by my chimney.
Took him a year.
And what do you imagine he found up there? Well, he has asked me in his absence to share this story with you and to also give our Master of Ceremony a little message. So Dick West, would you please stand up?
Okay.
The message I have been asked to deliver to you, Dick, is you can tell you're getting old when you forget a very important tool up on the roof near the chimney for over a year and you never missed it. So on his behalf, I am presenting something to you this evening.
Jimmy, I have to apologize to you. You don't know how many times I've asked Jimmy. Now, that is what you call a duck-bill trowel. I said to Jimmy, where's my duck-bill trowel? He says, I don't have it. Well, Bucket had it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my extreme pleasure to present to you our Master of Ceremony for this evening from the class of 1954, Mr. Richard West.
Well, thank you, Captain. Jimmy, I apologize again. Well, you know, our Alumni Association is 25 years old this year. I think that's pretty doggone good. We started in March of 1980 with a little gathering of about 5 people. Our first get-together was just we called it a tea at the Alice T. Minor Museum. This is our 25th year, our 24th banquet. I don't know how many remember Bill Wood. He was very, very instrumental in organizing the Alumni Association. At that time, too, our first, I think it was treasurer, was Nancy Lenny Ledoux. Now, Nancy Ledoux is with us, the young lady in the red dress down there. With the red face. Anyway, we've gone on, and it's kind of interesting. In our 25th year of Alumni Association is Class of 1954, their 50th year. Chazy is celebrating its bicentennial, its 200th year. When we graduated in 1954, Heart Delight Farm was only 50 years old. It is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year and last. One overlap, so we're claiming it as part of our anniversary. Another interesting point, when we graduated from Chazy Central Rural School, the old building was only 37 years old when we graduated. This new building, as they call the new school, is approximately 37 years old. So things move on. And what was that? Well, there we go. I'm sure we can get a committee here tonight to head that up. When we go back 50 years in some of our conversations in getting this group organized, one gentleman said, "Where have 50 years gone?" Well, by golly, they went pretty fast. 50 years ago, we had a theater in Chazy. Lauren Baker, Gerald Beggs, and Leland and I, to Friday nights, Saturday nights, to get to the theater, we'd ride our bicycles down to the Chazy Theater. Joan Russo was a ticket salesperson. Leo Trahan was the manager. And anybody that went, you remember Donald Morehouse? He sat in the back, and you could hear Donald Morehouse all over Chazy. But that was part of going to the movies in Chazy, was to listen to Donald Morehouse. On the way home, Lauren and Leland and I and Gerald would ride our bicycles. Where did we always stop? Oh, we didn't go to Gus's, that's too far. We stopped at Hazel Russo, had a little hot dog stand right on the corner. And the highlight of our evening on the way home, not with our bicycles, of course, we all had big lights on the doggone things and the fender flaps, so we were cool guys. But highlight of that evening would be to stop to Hazel Russo's, and we'd have our hot dogs and hamburger and soda, then we'd venture on home at maybe 9:30 at night by the time we'd get there. Also back at that time, we used to skip school occasionally. But one of the legal skips that we had was John Deere Day. The old farmers remember that. Old Bill Fitting had a John Deere Day, and the old Champlain Theater. The boys are all nodding their head. We all skipped the same time. We convinced the teachers that it was a legal holiday because it had something to do with farming. There'd be about 8 of us that would go, but only 2 had anything to do with farms. That's all right. Again, about that era, if you remember, well, from where I live up on Route 9 to Chazy. Now, this is quite interesting. As I counted them, there were 13 dairy farms from my house to Chazy. As of now, there is not one dairy farm from my house to Chazy. There's some on the Ratty Road, some on the Stetson Road, but on Route 9, there's not a one. Shirley Ducharme was one of the farmers at that time. Lauren Baker. Well, I'm probably going to miss some, but anyway, these gentlemen are all farmers. I think when we were going to school, there were about, well, the class was only 22. There were 8 or 9 that lived on dairy farms. So things have changed. Well, there were 12 gas stations at that time too. But anyway, I go on that, and I'm not supposed to. So we'll put it away. I think we're going to introduce the classes now. But let me find my notes. Not related to Bill Wood for nothing here, you know, I got a lot of paper. You folks that didn't know Bill Wood, he was a grand fellow, but man, did he have paper when he had something like this. Memorabilia, that's right. Is there anyone, well, I'm sure there's not, but before 1930, I mean, we're asking quite a bit of that. But we venture on quite fast, though. In the early part of the 30s, Is somebody 31, 32? I think we have a charming young lady that graduated in 1933, 71 years ago. Daisy Burnell Baker, would you please stand? Thank you, Daisy. And right after that, there's a young gentleman here. Now, he graduated 20 years before this class did, in 1934. Leslie Wiley, would you please stand? 17 years. And you know, there's another charming young lady we're not going to let go by without mentioning her name. In 1935, now, that's the year that a lot of us in this 1954 class were born. Shirley Stiles Ducharme. I don't think there's anybody in between. If there is, you let me know. But then we go to 1938. A gentleman that has made just about, I think he's made every one of our alumni banquets. 1938, John Collins. He's way down in the back. Would you please stand? You keep standing, Margaret LeMaire Cornell, because you're next. So Margaret was also a graduate of 1938. Margaret LeMaire Cornell. And of course, right after her baby sister, Esther LeBaire McQueen. 1939. We have a list, and I'm just going to read it. Now, normally these people are always here at our alumni banquet. Most of these people have never missed a one. Dr. George Clark is away on vacation. He was 1938. Madeline Fisher Gagnon West. She was also 1938. Another lady that travels quite a distance every year to be with us, Betty North Gagnon. John West is always here, Bob Nevert, and another gentleman by the name of Jim Gagnon. And before we get on with the rest, for maybe somewhere in our prayers this evening and our thoughts, we can remember the graduates that aren't with us, and I'm just going to mention one because I got to know him quite well in recent years, Mac McQuinney. Now, Mac has always made our alumni gatherings, and again, maybe somewhere in the evening, we think of our prayers, we can think of all the alumnus that aren't with us. Now, we'll move on up, I think we went 1940, anybody between 40 and 45, would you please stand? Whoa, there's these guys, 60 years graduates. And remember when they had their 50th, they were standing up here, and I said, oh my gosh, now here they are. And you don't look a day older, Ed, you're holding well. You sure you're what did we go, 45, 50? 45 to 50? There we go. And of course, 50 to 55, excluding the 54 class. And the group. 55 to 60. Oh, the younger boys. 60 to 65. Oh, there we go. 65 to 70. 70, 75. 75 to 80. Oh, my family down there. 80, 85. Price is going up. 85. Oh, here we got one over here. 85 to 90. Oh, another family. 90 to 95. Gonna have bingo pretty soon here. 95 to 100. I guess we, 95, yeah, to 2,000. Anybody above that? Okay, we are going to do the honorable thing. We're going to introduce the class of 1954. Before I call them up, I just did math was never my best subject, but the class of 54 had 57 children. Not all of us, I mean, well, that was an average of almost 3 apiece. If we add the years that we have been married, we have very, very close to 850 combined years of marriage. Now, isn't that something? That's a lot of marriage, ain't it, Bill? Before I introduce the class of 54, I would like to introduce the class of 1954's honored guests. Robert and Priscilla Rathbun, would you please stand? Of course, Mrs. Rathbun was in the elementary grades for a while, and Mr. Rathbun got us at quite a young age, and I have to say we probably matured together in school, and I know we have matured since then, and he's watched us, and he's probably one of the highest respected teachers that we had at Chazy Central Rural School. I think he was great. That man could have discipline without losing respect for the student or without the student losing respect for him. He ran a tight ship. I'll tell you, he didn't get out of the Navy for nothing. Okay, we go on to the class of 1954. The first young gentleman, and with each name, I'm going to read just a little saying that came from the class history at that time. So, some of them are all right. Anyway, I'll start with, and at that time, Clarence Lauren Baker will present the class of 1954 with a 50-year pin. Clarence Lauren Baker, and it said, "It's a great life if you don't weaken, but who wants to be strong?"
We're going to stand up in a line up here.
Okay, and you heard that from an ex-serviceman. Joseph Gabriel Boire. He has the makings of a man. Let us consider him one. Now, I didn't write these. I took these things off for our class history. Floyd Ritchie Bursey. Where there's light, there's hope. I'll tell you, a friend good and true. Janice Marie Burnell Bates. Whatever's worth doing is worth doing well. This is good. Patricia Louise Trombley Patron. It says, "It's better to let the feet slip than the tongue." That came out of the book, Pat. Here we are. Janice Elizabeth Todrick Toy. "I agree with no man's opinion. I have some of my own." Come on up, Janice. We're going to Beekman down. Come on over here. Carol Florence Reynolds Ladd. "As merry as the day is long." Betty Jean Munson O'Connell. "This merry one laughing eye." not to sedate or otherwise, is the best of comrades. Nancy Jane Ledoux Linney, the one in the red dress over there. She's been giving me a hard time since she came into town. Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Oh, easygoing, cheerful, and self-reliant. I'm sorry. I'll guess for that too. Leland James Ledoux. $5 now, $5 when you get it. William Eugene Gray. He who sitteth on a hot stove shall rise again. Sister Bernadette Marie Ducharme. Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. Isn't that beautiful? Robert Wayne Cheeseman. Don't frown on him, for once he was a man. Robert is very involved with the RSVP program in Plattsburgh, and he has been awarded a number of different awards for his outstanding support of the RSVP program. Gerald Doty Beggs, a man of action with few words. Maybe one more here. Richard Antoine West. A character simple, manly, and true. That's it. Is this any? That's quite a line. I have another gentleman that I would like to introduce. And this gentleman was in our class for a number of years, but 50 years ago, the economic times aren't like they are today. Sometimes people had to, leave school because of commitments they had. But a gentleman, a friend that I think we've all had for years, Leopold Bedard. Would you please come up here? Come right up, Leo. Now when you get up here, Leo, I just want you to stand and turn so they can see your profile. Now, I want them to visualize something. Now just turn and look this way, Leo. So, no, okay, that's enough. Now if you put a big black top hat on this man, who's he look like? Abe Lincoln, that's right. Congratulations, Leo. Mr. Baker.
Another person who started with our class, spent 10 years with our class through the sophomore year, and then accelerated to graduate in 1953, Marilyn Burnham Bowler. There's one more person who didn't go through that many years of school with us. He started out behind us. He joined us when he skipped 8th grade, and he joined us in the freshman year. He was with us during the freshman and sophomore year, and then he too accelerated to the senior year and graduated in 1953. Now this guy gets to celebrate class reunions for 3 years in a row. He did it last year, he did it this year, and I'm sure he's going to do it next year. Gerald Russell.
Still catch? Yeah. You get all those pins on your vest there, Gerald. You're going to look like General MacArthur when you retire. We have some of our classmates that aren't with us. I'll be with you in a minute. Mary Lou Russo McKinney is not with us this evening. Shirley May Ashline. You may have to help me on it. Joyce Daniel Rushford. Elaine Perrier Calkins. Carolyn Wright Dupree. We have another gentleman, certainly would be with us if he could, Marshall Brothers. Poor gentleman is hospitalized and we miss him. We lost one gentleman to an accident a number of years ago, Robert Doherty. Other than that, that pretty much takes care of our class. I present them to you. Class of 1954. They'd like to have us maybe make a double line or get together. As you look at these gentlemen, just picture them as a football team. Nobody's going to get around them or through them. They can be my team any day.
Come on out and sit.
Oh, what's that? We're missing one.
There she comes.
There she comes. Oh, come on! Do a little... Right here. That's good. Right here. Eat your heart out. We done? We're done? I hear you now? We're done. Sorry, you visit a minute. I'm just getting organized. We have, in the class of 1954, it may be in other classes, but I thought this was quite interesting. In the class of 1954, there were two of our graduates that are part of 4 generations that have graduated from Chazy Central Rural School. Now, I know there are others, but in our class there are 2. Janice Burnell Banks. Now, Janice graduated in 1954. Her mother, Dorothy Boulier Burnell, graduated in 1933. And of course, Gerald Richard Beggs, one of their sons, graduated in 1976, and he had a son that graduated last night at the commencement. But they had 5 children that had graduated from Chazy, and they had 6 grandchildren that have graduated from Chazy. That's, I think, pretty cute. We also have in our presence this evening, which is quite unique. We have a young lady also that graduated in 1933, Daisy Grinnell Baker. Her son, Clarence Lorne Baker, in 1954. Their son, James, in 1974. Their James' son will graduate in 2009. Their son, David, in 1976. And he has a son, Corey, that will graduate in 2002. Between them, they have 5 children, 1 grandchild that has graduated, and 3 grandchildren to go. Now, it's only going to take a minute, but I think this is quite cute if we could have the 4 generations of Daisy Grinnell Baker's family come up and we'll take a quick picture. How would you like to do that, Daisy? I mean, this is quite unique to get 4 generations attending doing from our little school in Chazy. This is one for the books, Daisy. You know that picture down there of you when you were 3 years old? Now we're going to have another one to put beside it with the rest of the clan. Very nice. I got a couple interesting items here, if I can find them. One is a little poem. Most of us can relate to this. Special poem for senior citizens. Everybody moan? A row of bottles on my shelf cause me to analyze myself. One yellow pill I have to pop goes to my heart so it won't stop. A little white one that I take goes to my hands so they won't shake. The blue ones that I use a lot tell me I'm happy when I'm not. The purple pill goes to my brain and tells me that I have no pain. The capsule tells me not to wheeze, or cough or choke or even sneeze. The red ones, smallest of them all, go to my blood so I won't fall. Orange ones, big and bright, prevent my leg cramps in the night. Such an array of brilliant pills, helping to cure all kinds of ills. But what I really like to know is what tells each one where to go. I think we're going to get ready for our film now. We have a short presentation. It's about 10 minutes, and I think that everybody's going to enjoy it. It's basically about the Heart's Delight Farm Heritage Exhibit. Now, I know some people have been there. Some have not. In Chazy, you go up to the Heart's Delight Farm. It's in what they call the former storehouse or the receiving house. It's quite a presentation. Now, the gentleman that narrates this film is Steve Fizette. Now, Steve Fizette is the son of Eileen Petro Fizette. She graduated 1949 from Chazy. You're going to enjoy it. It's shows minor, shows the farm, it shows some of the operation. Our Chazy athletic teams are something to be proud of in Chazy. Our Chazy varsity boys made their 4th trip in 6 years to the New York State Final Four. We have a senior, Jeff Krylonczyk, set the New York State record for most shutouts in a career as a Chazy goalkeeper. Now the New York State record was 58, and this is a young man from Chazy that had 62 shutouts in his high school career. We have another young lady, Bethany Frederick, was the first Chazy girls player to score 1,000 points in her career. Our little teams at Chazy have done well. We're on.
No other occupation is so vitally important to the human race, nor requires such a wide range of practical and technical knowledge as farming. It has to do with our very existence, the production of food and the conservation of the soil. Orphaned at an early age, 11-year-old William Miner came to Chazy in 1873 to live in the care of his Aunt Hulda and Uncle John Miner on the homestead founded here in 1820 by his grandfather, Clement Miner. Farm life was often harsh in the 1870s, and Uncle John, a stern disciplinarian, kept young Will very busy, instilling in the boy a sense of self-reliance and a devotion to hard work. When not doing farm chores, Willie could be found studying reading, writing, and arithmetic at the one-room schoolhouse just down the road. It was there he formed a lifelong love of learning before heading west once again to find a career in the railroad business. Will left the North Country when he was 18, but that small homestead near Chazy remained very close to his heart. 23 years later, in 1903, he would return here to build Harstoway Farm.
From the beginning of building over the old homestead, his heart was there. He didn't tear down a single thing. This was not a wealthy place. In fact, his life is a bit almost like a Horatio Alger story. It was pretty close to rags, and certainly came to riches.
William H. Miner made his fortune in the railroad industry, and it would take a fortune to enact the ambitious master plan he envisioned as he set out acquiring 15,000 acres and building or renovating hundreds of structures for his farm. About 6 years ago, I undertook the development of my uncle's old homestead, which I have enlarged from time to time by the purchase of surrounding farms, until now it comprises thousands of acres, about 1,500 of which are under cultivation, the balance being woodland. The barns which are located on these old farms have been repaired and improved in accordance with the standard method. H. Miner also chose not to tear down his uncle's homestead, but instead built over it, completely enclosing it as the nucleus of the 47-room home he would call Heart's Delight Cottage. But of course, he wasn't merely building a house. He had a much grander vision, a vision of the ideal farm, a comprehensive blend of sound scientific principles, excellent management, and an inspiring landscape. About 20 miles of beautiful roadways were built throughout the farm, affording ready access to all parts of it from its center, where the office and principal buildings were located. The tillable land was methodically drained, and large areas of virgin soil were brought into cultivation. 10 concrete dams were built to harness the water power provided by the Chazy River and Tracy Brook, both of which flowed to the farm. And a complete hydroelectric system furnished lights and power for the buildings and various farm industries. This electrical capacity preceded most facilities in the North Country, and in fact, it is true that Heart's Delight Farms dairy farms had electricity before even the governor's mansion in Albany. The design of the principal buildings afforded every innovation and convenience known to scientific farming at that period, and the construction evolved at a startling pace. Approximately 300 buildings were built or improved upon in just 6 years. Cutting-edge labor-saving machinery was employed, including a grist mill, milking machines, butter-making machines, an ice and refrigerating plant, a sausage factory, threshing machines, insulage cutters, corn huskers, and even a box factory. The activities of the farm were divided and placed under the supervision of expert department heads, who in turn reported to the superintendent. Thus, the raising of splendid purebred Percheron horses, Guernsey and Shorthorn Durham cattle, Dorset sheep, Yorkshire and Chester white swine, white leghorn poultry, and squab was conducted in a scientific manner on a very large scale. The farm produced large quantities of delicious ham, bacon, sausage, butter, eggs, corn, celery, and Canadian melons. The game preserves, comprising thousands of acres, contain buffalo, deer, elk, and partridge. Over 10,000 maple trees were tapped each spring, furnishing thousands of gallons of delicious syrup. 10 large springs were developed and provided an unlimited supply of pure water, which was piped under pressure from several impressive water towers into all of the principal buildings, as well as the fish hatchery and trout ponds, which contain hundreds of thousands of beautiful brook trout and black bass. State-of-the-art farm that not only capitalized on a well-managed approach to provide excellent quality farm products to clients such as New York City's Waldorf Astoria, but also served to demonstrate to a steady stream of farm guests just how important farming actually was, and that only a scientific approach to this noble pursuit could fully exploit its potential. Mr. Miner also used the prominence of his farm to campaign for more equitable compensation to farmers for the fruits of their labor. He felt that farmers were grossly underpaid, and he foresaw by over half a century the crisis that would befall the American farm. He did his best to educate anyone who would listen that no other occupation was so vitally important to the human race. All of this, however, can only hint at the paradise that Heart's Delight Farm was to visitors in its heyday. Though Mr. Miner directed the farm as a business with a keen intellect focus on a scientific approach, he and Mrs. Miner by no means neglected the more aesthetic facets of life here. They found many ways to express the deep love they felt for their surroundings by calling attention to the ethereal beauty of nature. Numerous bronze plaques were placed throughout the grounds urging people to appreciate the many miracles found in the natural world, exhorting everyone to be thankful for the plentiful bounty and urging all to live to their fullest potential.
J.D. Dunn from Chicago. In July of 1914, he wrote about his visit. When Gabriel sounds his trumpet to resurrect us from the sod, to take us to his kingdom, to meet our heavenly God, I ask him for the favor to drop me out of sight and let me dwell forevermore at dear old heart's delight. He put his mark on the North Country in the early 20th century. And the message is that you can be anything that you set out to be if you have the determination, the will. With William Wagner, he had the will and he found the way. And that's a message that I think everyone ought to have, not just farmers.
The essential charm of the farm remains and always will remain, the care of the crops and the cattle, and of orchards, bees, and fowls, the clearing and improving of the ground, the building of barns and houses, the direct contact with the soil and with the elements, the watching of clouds and of the weather, the privacies of nature with bird, beast, and plant, and the close acquaintance with the heart and virtue of the world. The farmer should be the true naturalist. The book in which it is all written is open before him night and day, and how sweet and wholesome all his knowledge is. John Burroughs.
Yes. Kathy Devens.
At this time, I would like to announce the presentation of the awards. Last night at the graduation at CCRS, we gave 2 alumni scholarships in the amount of $1,000 each. Recipients this year were Carrie Ledoux, daughter of Bruce Ledoux, class of 1974, and his wife Gloria Ledoux, and Tiffany Trombley, daughter of James Trombley, class of 1971, and Tina Earl Trombley, class of 1974. I'd like to say congratulations. Also this year, we decided to present a very worthy individual with the Alumni Service Award. It's an award that we don't give out every year, but every now and then we decide that it's time to give one. This award is given to an individual who has given much of their time to the Alumni Association alma mater through volunteering, and their dedication to the association. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to present to you this year's recipient of the Chazy Central Rural School Alumni Service Award to a member of the class of 1944, Marie Laramie Gannett.
Come on, you're not lost for words.
Oh, you deserve it.
I would now like to ask Mr. Robert Cheeseman, member of the class of 1954, to present the Alumnus of the Year Award.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm very proud to have the opportunity to do this, and I do it with great pleasure. The person chosen as Alumnus of the Year can be described in many ways. Some of the ways are as follows, but not necessarily in the order of occurrence. This person is a high-energy person. This person is a housewife, a mother, a family caregiver, a musician and a nanny, a tourist home operator, and a grandmother, and also a great gardener. In times when clothing was needed, she was a seamstress, and she's a great cook, and also a great grandmother, and I mean a great grandmother. Choir member for 60 plus years, and also an organist. She's also a choir director, a religious teacher for 25 plus years, and someone who rode to CCRS in a horse-drawn school bus, and when they couldn't make it, open sleighs took them. Someone who graduated 71 years ago in 1933. I present to you Daisy Baker.
Certainly not waiting.
That's a picture. Hey. What's your mother up here? Don't sit down, Daisy. We're going to call you back up. The people are requesting pictures of you with your plaque. Oh, terrible. You know, Daisy did some things that were pretty doggone near right, because she taught me religion when I was a youngster. And look how her son turned out. And we were close friends with Gerald Bates, so some rubbed off on him. Look how he turned out. Daisy, come up in the community here. And maybe your family again. Like, take a picture. I think that you and your son Lauren would be fantastic. The whole family they're requesting. Whole family. Come on. Let's go. Gonna have half the group up here. There you go. She's like the Queen of England with all her court here.
She is. I think you can gather round.
turn your clock around? Turn your clock around.
She wants to look at it. I just got one more little thing to read. I'll go over my notes, but I think this is it. This is kind of cute. An elderly gent was invited to his friend's home for dinner one evening. He was impressed by the way his buddy proceeded every request to his wife with an endearing term. Honey, my love, darling, sweetheart, pumpkin, and all this stuff. The couple had been married almost 70 years, and clearly they were still very much in love. While the wife was in the kitchen, the man leaned over to his host and said, I think it's wonderful that after all these years you still call your wife those loving pet names. The old man hung his head and he says, I have to tell you the truth, I forgot her name about 10 years ago. I think the next is Kathy back at the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. West. I'd like to bring your attention to the fact that Debbie West is here this evening, and she has some of the old school ornaments for sale if you're interested. If so, please see her, and she has plenty of them. Also, Tina has the book about Chazy, if anybody is interested and would like to purchase that. You can see Tina for that. Yes, it is very good. I'd like to close by saying that since 1980, as Dick had pointed out, people have been gathering every year to reminisce with classmates and friends about their school days at CCRS when they attend the alumni tea and the alumni banquet. Well, this is very gratifying to all of us who join in and are committed to making the tea and the banquet an enjoyable event. It's also a time that when many hands get together, it makes the work a lot lighter. So with saying that, we're always looking for new members. So anybody out there who's interested in joining the Alumni Association and assisting us, we certainly will not say no to you. Just let us know, and we'll be happy to let you know when the next meeting will be. I would also like to say that on behalf of the Alumni Association, thank you to the Alice T. Minor Museum Board of Directors and Fred Smith for hosting the Alumni Tea. And would also like to thank the CCRS Administration and Board of Education for the seating arrangements that they provide us every year for our 50-year class at graduation, and also for the use of the banners and the flowers. I hope that you had an enjoyable evening, and we hope to see you again next year as we celebrate another alumni tea and banquet. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. West to lead us in God Bless America.
As usual, we always end our banquet with proudly singing the greatest prayer and song that was ever written. God Bless America, made famous by the great Kate Smith. So we can all join together, sing with our hearts to ask God to bless our great country. Everyone, and don't hurry away. George is going to be here for a while. George and Wilbur will play for us as long as we want to listen. I want to thank you, George and Wilbur. Daisy Baker, this is a song for you. By golly, you get the royal treatment tonight.